we've been in a series called Devoted. I don't know if you've been here or not, but so we're talking about that. And maybe you've noticed this. If you go on any morning down to like a track or over to like the walking, whatever those are called, or just in any neighborhood, you can pretty much almost always find somebody running. Just they're out there. There's a person who runs every single day in my neighborhood. I see him every day. He's just running circles and running and doing these things. And when I see these people running, I realize something that these people have heard about Netflix, right? They know about like video games. They know about sleep, okay? In fact, some of them maybe even like to sleep in, but they get up early and they go running. Some of you, that's you, I know. But they go running, and they do this for whatever reason. They do this because they are devoted, right? In fact, they're running usually in a circle. Like, I don't know if you ever noticed this. They're literally running nowhere. Like, they go in a circle, and they end where they stop. You just ran really hard for an hour, and they always end where they started. That's just, it has to be frustrating, and that's why I don't run. I'm like, what's the point? If you see me running, you should start running. Because a bear has gotten out of the zoo and I am running away. That's the only reason you're going to see me running. Or maybe there's Krispy Kremes, okay? And you want to follow me. But either way, it's going to be worth running if you see me running. So just keep that in mind if I'm ever. But these people, they run because they're devoted. We've been talked about being devoted. This is the dictionary definition of devoted. It's to give all or a large part of one's time and resources to a person, an activity, or a cause. This just to give yourself to something, to give either all of yourself or part of yourself, your time, your money, something about you, you devote it to something. And so usually when you see somebody running, they're devoted to a sport and they're trying to get in better like physical shape so they can run faster, they can have more endurance, they can compete better. Now, if you see somebody my age running, that usually means that they're trying to get in shape, okay? They're trying to work on their health. They don't want to be overweight. They're devoting to their health. In fact, when you get older, there's a lot to not look forward to because you start to have to devote more to your health. Like eating, they have this thing where they go and they get like stuff from your yard and they make you eat it. Okay, my wife, not literally from my yard, she serves these things, they call them a salad apparently, and it's like, if I found this thing in my yard, I would spray it with Roundup so it would die, okay? Because I'm like, get out of my yard, you're messing up my grass, okay? No, I mean, it's this, I don't know why people, it's like, when you're sitting down and you're about to eat a salad, it's like, I know that lasagna exists, okay? I know about tamales and all kinds. And so my wife will say things like, oh, but this one's going to be a good salad. I'm like, why? She said, because there's good stuff in it. I'm like, is there a cheeseburger in it? Because it's a salad, okay? You can't make a salad. Okay, I'll give you the salad with a cheeseburger with, and then hold the lettuce. Then we'll be good to go. But I'm not a fan. But here I am. I know I'm at dinner and I'm eating green beans and broccoli and carrots and all this different stuff. And I know about the good stuff, but I choose to eat the healthy stuff. Why? Because I want to be healthy. So I'm in some ways, I'm devoted to my health, not as much as my wife would like me to be. But I'm devoted at least partially, not necessarily fully. But when you're devoted to something fully, you do things because you're devoted. So if you're devoted to making good grades, you do your homework. Because some of you are like laughing, yeah, whatever, my grade. I've got a 21 in a class. All right, but no, some of you are devoted to your grades. That means you do your homework, right? If you're devoted to sports, you do even work out. If you're devoted to your health, you eat right. It's not real complicated. You get that. If you're devoted to something, there's going to be things that you devote to. And so what if the thing that we wanted, well, sure, you can want all those other things. That's great. That's cool. But what if there was something else also that you wanted, and that was that you wanted to be close to God? What would you devote to see yourself become close to God? Jesus' brother, James, talked about being close to God. And so James wrote this. We've looked at it every week. He said, come near to God, and he will come near to you. So the idea that James is saying here is that if we can come near, you can imagine God's there, I'm here, and as I come closer to him, he comes closer to me. And that we can grow closer to each other. If you go towards God, he comes towards you, and your relationship gets closer. That's why we say, I feel closer to God, or I feel far from God. Well, it's an accurate thing. We can feel and be closer to him. And there's some great things that happen as we get closer to him. Because with God is joy, with God is peace. God has purposes for you, He has plans for you, He has things He wants to teach you and show you, He wants to guide and direct you. And as you move closer to Him, you move closer to His joy, you experience more of His peace, you get more of the life He has for you. So I think most of you, if you're a Christian, you're like, okay, I would like to be closer to God. If you're not a Christian, you also could get closer to God. It's something that I would like for you to at least think about. But if you're a Christian and you want to be closer to God, we want to know how to do it. So he tells us in the verse before this one, just one sentence before, he says, submit yourselves then to God, resist the devil and he'll flee from you. Come near to God and he'll come near to you. So he says, submit yourself to God. Submit yourself to him. Now, when I was growing up and through my life, just to tell you the way it was, I thought I really wanted to be close to God. I really wanted to devote myself to him. But a lot of times, it was really hard. Maybe you've experienced that. I was like, hey, I want to be close to God. I want to get to know him. But for some reason, it feels hard. Like, maybe you relate. Like, I want to read my Bible on a regular basis. But it seems so hard, okay? I want to pray regularly. Like, I go to hear someone talk about praying. I'm like, I'm going to do it this time. And then for some reason, it was hard. Do you relate to that at all? Maybe some of you are like, yes, I want to do that stuff, but it is hard. I want to be faithful to something, but it is hard. Maybe you've said something like, okay, I'd really like to stop gossiping. I'd really like to stop lying. I'd really like to stop cursing. I'd really like to stop looking at that stuff. I'd really like to stop, drinking, smoking, whatever. I'd really like to stop this thing, but it is hard. I really like to commit to this area of my life to God, but it's hard. Do you ever feel like it's hard? Anybody? Just me? I'm the only one? Okay, I guess I'm head shaking. Yeah, okay. Somebody say it's hard sometimes. Thank you. Just to make sure you're there. It's kind of awkward up here sometimes when you're so quiet. I've thought this, okay? I want to impact somebody. I want to impact somebody's life. Or I want to have the courage when my friend tells me something's wrong to say, can I pray with you? I want to have the courage to, bring my Bible and let people know I'm a Christian. I want to have the courage to pray over at lunch. I want to have the courage to let people know about my faith or to stand up for something I believe in when everybody else doesn't. I want to have that courage, but it's hard. And sometimes as we're thinking about devoting our life and moving towards God, it gets hard. And so, I agree, it is. But then, as I think about it, and I look at the first Christians, and the reason I mention them is we've been looking at something that they did the last couple weeks. It was really hard for them, and it makes me feel bad that I think it's hard, okay? Like, for example, many of them, when they became a Christian, when they got baptized, okay, they would get kicked out of their family. In other words, you get baptized, you don't have a home. They would be homeless. Wouldn't that be weird? Can you imagine, if you came in here tonight and you gave your life to Jesus, you walked to the back of the room, you prayed with somebody, you gave your life to Jesus, you went home, you told your family, and they said, bye, kicked you out on the street, you had nowhere to live because you're a Christian. That was what they faced. And then within just a few weeks, the first Christian was killed because they were Christian. And there was not that many Christians, just a few thousand Christians at the time, and one of them got stoned to death. That's where they pick up rocks and they just throw it at you until they kill you, okay? And then just a little bit later, it became illegal to be a Christian. And things like they would burn you alive for being a Christian. They would stick you with a spear and then stick you up on the ground so everybody could see you. Some of them got crucified like Jesus did. Some of the disciples had that happen to them. They would feed them to lions in front of people. They would starve lions so they got super hungry, and then they would throw you out and then everybody would watch. That was Friday night TV. They didn't have TV, so let's watch them eat Christians. It got really bad to be a Christian, and then we were like, it's so hard. And they're like, it is hard because I might get eaten tomorrow. And so when I look at them and what they had to go through, it maybe can give us courage that as hard as it can be sometimes to feel devoted and to do right, that we can be because they did it, and they really had something to face. So we looked at something that they did. It's in Acts chapter 2. This is right when the Christians first started becoming Christians. Jesus went to heaven, the disciples went, preached a message, a few thousand people got saved, and then we read about what they began doing. And it gives us a great model of what we can devote to if we want to grow close to God. So I'm just going to put that up here. It's Acts chapter 2, verse... That's just Colossians again. I can't get that right. That was wrong last week, wasn't it? All right, Acts chapter 4, verse 2. All right, they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, and we read that. We talked about that last week, how the apostles' teaching is what's written in our Bible. It's in our New Testament, okay? And to the fellowship, and to the breaking of bread, and to prayer. And we talked about prayer a couple weeks ago. So I want to talk about these two, and I'm going to kind of combine them because I think they're really similar. Now, breaking of bread, some people kind of debate on what that means. Like some people say, oh, that was communion, like where you have the little, well, here we have those little cracker things in the little cup, but some people have bread, and there's all different ways she'll do it. So maybe that's what it is. Some people think. I think, and a lot of people agree, that it's probably just that they had meals together. They would break bread. It was a regular thing they did when they ate, and they ate together regularly. So like they devoted themselves. It doesn't even feel like it belongs with prayer and Bible study, does it? Like eating together. But that was something they devoted themselves to. And it says, and to the fellowship. And I think those are really related to the fellowship. Now, I don't know what comes to your mind when you hear the word fellowship. A lot of things come to my mind because I grew up in church and we always had fellowships, okay? If you're here, we have fellowships. But it started when I was a little kid, and we were in a little church. Our church had less people in it than are in this room tonight, the entire church, okay? There were like 2 teenagers. And so we would have fellowships, and what it would be is potluck dinners. Do y'all know what a potluck dinner is? This is where the old ladies make casseroles. And I don't know why they only know how to make casseroles, but I hate casseroles. You can make something, they'll disguise it. They're like, this is a hamburger casserole. Like, oh, a hamburger? No, it's nasty. If it's casserole, I don't like casseroles. My favorite thing was when one of them got lazy and bought pizza. I was the first one in line, and I got the pizza. They got like olives on it and had to pick it off. But still, so that was a fellowship. We got together and we ate, okay? And so maybe that's what, I don't know what you think of when you think about fellowship. I think about what we do. We call our Sunday night things fellowship, right? Now, that doesn't mean that fellowship happens. And we're going to talk about what fellowship is in a second. What we just did before I got up here was we call it worship, but it was really singing. Because you could have just stood and watched, or you could worship. Some of you worship, some of you didn't. And so we call it worship, but it doesn't mean it's worship. It's only worship if you worship, right? And so we call it fellowship, and it's really an activity, but it's an opportunity to fellowship. And I was actually just thinking about all the fun fellowships that we do. We've done all kinds of stuff. I've been here for 10 years, and so we've done a lot of stuff. And so today I was just looking at pictures, and I was like, oh, these are some fun pictures. So I just started grabbing pictures from the last few years of some of the fellowships. And we've done a lot of fun things. Like we go to the gym. We just stuff in our face, we eat some crazy things. We play with balloons. We play games. We play games, okay? I don't know what we're doing in this picture, but we dress up sometimes. We wait for our parents in the parking lot. We ride. This is AJ, if you can't tell. They're like, oh, it's AJ. He only came to Pillow Polo. That's how I know what this fellowship is, because when he first came, he only came to one thing. And we go out to eat together. And look at it. They're still friends. They're still sitting together today. This is 6th grade, right? We should recreate this picture. That'd be awesome. go to Qdoba. All right. So we had a lot of fun, okay? We've done lots of things. We hang out with each other. And some of us actually experience what I would call fellowship. Like we come, we hang out, and we do this thing, but suddenly fellowship starts to happen where we begin to develop these kinds of relationships where we are able to encourage each other, where we're able to build each other up. Fellowship is a community of believers that take care of each other, they serve each other, they carry each other's burdens, they encourage each other. It's a community of believers that are helping each other. Now, we talked about how sometimes being devoted to Christ feels hard. It feels difficult. And that's because you're not meant to do it alone. And you read, they got together and they had meals. You think, okay, well, Bible study and prayer is obviously way more important than that. This is up there with those, that we purposefully create relationships where we can have this kind of a fellowship together because we're not meant to do it alone. We're meant to encourage each other and strengthen each other. So a little while ago, pretty much a long while ago, I was on this thing. I was going to try and get in better shape, and so I got these like DVDs where you work out at home because. Okay, yeah, I did. And so I was doing them too, and I was doing them. But okay, so the bad thing was Tracy started wanting to work out with me, and so whenever they do things like like you got to do jump squats, unless where you jump and you touch your legs, that kind of stuff. And then you got to do like 100 of them, and then you got to like run, like do like high knees where you're doing this, right? And you're going to like forever, and you're supposed to do it really fast. But when I'm by myself and I'm really intense, and after a fefew minutes I'm kind of tired, and this is my high knees. Okay, I'm like, my face is all red and my veins pop out and I'm sweating like crazy. Okay, when I'm by myself, this is how I end up doing it. But when I don't know if you've ever seen Tracy work out, okay? If you haven't, she's intense. And so she's in there and she's going, and if I start doing this, she's like, come on, let's go. And she's like making me go harder. And I'm like, oh, I've got to push. And I'm so worn out. But here's what it does, okay? It actually makes me work out better, okay? If you decide you want to gain, like really lift heavy and build muscle, it is better to work out with somebody. Because in order to really do it, you have to put on heavy weights. And you got to push. And like say you're doing push-up, bench press, you got to push until that last one. You can just barely get it up, okay? If you stop before it's hard, you haven't really done the work. And so what you need is someone there to spot you, right? If you're going to do really heavy stuff, you're going to have somebody to spot you. Otherwise, one of two things is going to happen. You're going to not make it, and you're going to get hurt because that bar is going to hit you, or you're going to quit too early. You're not going to go as hard as you can. You could have gone harder because you had somebody to spot you. And you know what? A lot of us in our faith, we give up, we don't go hard, we could go harder but we don't have somebody there to encourage us. Somebody there to know that's going to grab it and help us up if we get in a little trouble. Sometimes we are running in our Christian life and this is our high knees, okay, this is how we're doing it. And we need somebody going, let's go, right? Looking at you and making you go, right? Maybe it's the person that's sitting next to you and this is how you're worshiping and you're like, let's go. All right. I don't know what it is, okay, what they're doing for you. They're calling you and reminding you to pray. They're part of a group with you. But there's somebody that is spurring you forward, that is pushing you on to in your relationship with God. We're meant to be that way. We're meant to be something. There's a pastor I was listening to, and he was talking about a guy in his church. He was in a gang, and he came to the church, got saved, got baptized, and then like 2 months later he was gone. And he was like, man, that guy seems so changed. So he got his number, called him, and talked to him about it. And he said, hey, what happened? I mean, you were so into things, so you seem so different. And he said, well, when I got jumped into my gang, we became they had my back 24/7. It was like a family, instant family. And I thought when I got baptized that the church was going to be my family, that we were going to have each other's back. I didn't realize it was just going to be going to church once a week. And I was like, he has something there, right? I mean, I think he's closer to, not that we want to be like a gang, like, hey, you leave, in your head, okay? Not like that, okay? But like where we are like a family, where we have each other's back, where it's more than just something that you go to once a week. It's meant to be more than that. And so if the gangs are doing fellowship better than us, we got a problem, okay? So let me just talk to you a little bit about what fellowship is. I want to show you a few things in the Bible that what fellowship is, okay? Therefore, as we have the opportunity, this is in Galatians 6:10. Therefore, as we have the opportunity, let us do good to all people. We're supposed to do good to everybody. But then listen to what he says, especially, I don't know the way to say that word, okay? Especially to those who belong to the family of believers. A family of believers. Now, I was just thinking about that. Do you have a family of believers, or do you have a group of people you go to church with? Do you have a family of believers, or do you have a group of people that you sit next to sometimes during a service? We're supposed to have a family of believers. Jesus says that we're his children, right? We're God's children. And so that means we're brothers and sisters, right? That means this guy right here is my brother. You're my brother. And I'm supposed to care about you. Yeah, we're not going to sing that song. She's my sister, and I care about her. And she's my sister, and I care about her. And she's my sister, and I care about her. Do we look at anyone in this room, I mean, maybe that one other person or something, and be able to say, you're my brother, you're my sister, I care about you. Look at somebody and say, you're my brother or my sister. You're my sister. Yeah, so look, we're supposed to be like family. And not even just one other person. It could get and should get to where you could look around and you could see 20 different people and go, that's my brother, that's my sister. They feel like family to you, that you care that much about each other, that you're that close to one another, that you care for each other. In fact, let me just show you. I'm going to blitz through like a ton of verses that talk about how believers are supposed to be towards one another. This is talking about Christians the family of believers and how we are towards each other. Just a whole bunch really, really fast. And if you want the references, you can write them down. You won't have time. Accept one another. Greet one another. Serve one another. Be patient, bearing with one another. You can get them off my notes later. All right. Bearing. I want some people that will bear with me because sometimes I'm almost unbearable. Okay. So we need that. Okay. Be kind and compassionate to one another. Forgiving each other. Submit to one another. Encourage one another. Spur one another onward towards love and good deeds. I'm going to pause for a second. This is exactly what I was talking about with the running thing when I'm working out and she's spurring me on, making me go faster. Have you ever ran with somebody else and you wanted to quit, but they kept going, so you ran a little harder? You know what I'm talking about? So it's spurring one another. What if we spurred each other towards love and good deeds, towards a deeper relationship with God? That's what it's supposed to look like. And here we go. This sums them all up, all of them up together. Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you fulfill the law of Christ. When we carry each other's burdens, you do exactly what Christ wants you to do. You fulfill everything he taught when you carry each other's burdens. That's amazing that can happen. Carry each other's burdens. Okay, I'm going to need someone to help me. Let me see. Okay. Y'all don't know. What if I say eat crickets? I mean, like, me. Okay, whatever. I'm going to pick someone that's not raising their hand. Jess, come here. All right. I always pick on Jess. Okay, yeah, Jess. This is a burden. Let's pretend this is your burdens. I don't know what your burdens. Does Jess have burdens? No, okay. Yeah, I'm sure she does. You're like, no, she's too holy. Okay. There's your burden. And I need you to carry your burden just over here where this TV was. Just carry it over there. Yeah, it's just, you have to carry it. Don't drag it. Carry it. Yeah, carry. There you go. Okay. Now, it's very heavy, okay? It's very heavy. Now, let me see. It doesn't even have to be a minute. You. Come here. Y'all come carry. Anybody on the front row, that's good. That's enough. Now, all of y'all grab that. Let's carry her burdens. Now, this is a very easy. I didn't even pick, like, the guys on the back row that could probably do it by themselves. Great. Good job. Now, y'all sit down. Y'all see what just happened? Now, that's a very simple thing. A very simple visual. But if you can imagine this, everybody has a burden sometimes. And then maybe you don't feel like you're carrying one right now, but at some point we carry burdens. I heard a statistic this week that 4 in 10 Americans, and I think it's even higher among teenagers, has feelings of extreme loneliness. That means that right now there's about, I don't know, we don't have quite 100 in here, but probably about 40 of you have feelings of extreme loneliness. And that is a burden that you are carrying. That many people are struggling or carrying a burden of depression in their life. Many people are carrying a burden of just feeling like they don't measure up. Carrying a burden of a sin that they can't get rid of. You've tried, and you said, I'm going to quit this sin, I'm going to stop doing that, I'm going to quit doing that, and you've got this burden and you're carrying it. What are we supposed to do? We're supposed to carry each other's burdens. That it's not just me, struggling and trying to carry my burden, and it's so heavy, right? Okay, that's not the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be where we are carrying one another's burdens, where I've got something that I've got, and you know what? There's 6 other people there with me, and they're my family. They're my family of believers. They're my brothers and sisters in Christ who love each other and carry each other's burdens. You're not supposed to do it alone. And by the way, there's somebody that needs you. There's somebody who's carrying a burden and they have nobody to carry it with because you're not there for them. So I'm going to give you just a couple pro tips on how to do this, okay? How you do it. You've got to pursue relationships with other believers intentionally. You have to pursue relationships with believers intentionally. Now, if this is your church, then you need to do it here. This is your family of believers sitting in this room, if this is your church. Now, if you don't have a church, I invite you to be part of our family. Okay? You're invited. Join us. Be a part of this family. If you go to another church, like this is my church, go to your church. I'm glad you're here. Nice to see you. Go to your church and devote yourself to them. Okay? They're your family. Go devote yourself to them. If this is your church, devote yourself to the people in this room. This is meant to be your family. That's the way God created it. There would be churches. There's the big whole church, but there's our local churches where we devote ourselves and we become family to each other. We know each other's burdens. How can you carry my burden if you don't know what it is? We have to be close enough to know so that we can carry each other's burdens. So here you go. Here's some things. Get involved in as much as you possibly can. If your only commitment or only involvement has been being here once a week on a service, you're never going to experience family. You got to do more. Even step one, hang out a little while. Just talk to some new people. Sit down, chat, do some things. Come on Sunday. Be a part of what we're doing. Go to the fall retreat. Go do stuff with us. Find a way. Next time we do discipleship groups, your name should be the first one on the list, okay? Find a way, be a part of doing to build relationships and experience fellowship. And there will be people there. The next time you have your burden, the next time you're sitting there struggling, all of a sudden you're gonna discover that you've got 6 people there carrying it with you. And suddenly it's different. And you're struggling with something and you found out that there's 3 other people that you're close to that are struggling too. And together, you are walking together. It's the way it's supposed to be. And you're not supposed to do it alone. And then what happens is you discover you're closer to God. Like, why are you closer to God? Because you were with some people that were going towards Him too. If you'll pursue it, if you'll make it something you devote yourself to. And just like anything else, if you want to devote yourself to reading your Bible, that means there's going to be times you turn off Netflix, right? And if you're going to devote yourself to prayer, there's going to be times you put your phone away for a little bit. If you're going to do those, if you're going to devote yourself to fellowship, that's going to be saying no to some things so that you have the time and the commitment and the ability to be around people. I understand that. But if you'll devote yourself to it, you will grow closer to God than you ever have before. And it'll be because you're doing what we're meant to be in fellowship, to be a family of believers. We're going to end tonight with prayer because some of you are carrying a burden right now. And your burden feels heavy. It may even feel impossible. So we're going to at least join with one other person in the back. In just a moment, you can have someone to pray with you. And they're going to join with you in prayer and believe and help you begin carrying that burden. We're going to just sing part of a song together. And during that time, if you need prayer, there will be people in the back of the room to pray with you. Just go to the back and they'll pray with you about anything you need. And we'll be dismissed in just a moment. Father, I pray that we would all find that fellowship, that relationship, those relationships that can strengthen us and push us towards you. I pray that we would be a family of believers. I thank you for it in Jesus' name.